All right. Well, it's Monday, which means it's time for our weekly box office report brought to you by our friends at AMC Theatres. Coming in at number 1 this week is the new animated film Kung Fu Panda 3, opening with $41 million. In second spot is Leonardo DiCaprio's The Revenant, earning $12.4 million. Third spot went to Star Wars The Force Awakens, making an additional $10.78 million to bring its 7-week total to over $895 million domestically and $1.98 billion worldwide. Coming in fourth place this weekend is the new Chris Pine film The Finest Hours, making just over $10.3 million. And rounding out the top 5 is the comedy Ride Along 2, making just over $8.3 million. John, what stands out to you in this week's box office report? It's been a I hate you all.
Okay.
Give me a break.
You guys don't see her, but like at pre-production meeting, she's like cigars every night.
I know.
Yeah.
Just
Sounded like Ludo from Labyrinth.
Ludo. Give me another lozenge.
Ashley, don't hurt me.
Give me another lozenge, I say, Steph.
Movie talk.
Kung Fu Panda 3 becomes the third largest January opening of all time. Obviously, it was going to crush the box office this weekend. No big surprise there. So that's cool. Star Wars increasing its lead as the number 1 domestic film of all time with 895. Looking doubtful it's going to hit that 1 billion mark at this point. About 3 weeks ago, I was like, for the longest time I said it wouldn't hit $1 billion domestic, but then about 3 weeks ago I was like, I think it might. No, we were probably wrong. But still, by far now, the biggest domestic hit of all time. Unfortunately, the ones that really stand out to me are the ones that did not do so well. For us now, 50 Shades of Black opened in 9th, and you might think, oh, that's horrible. Yeah, but remember, 50 Shades of Black is a little spoof movie that they I'm not going to be shocked to find out they did it for like $4 million. And they made $6 million on their opening weekend. Right. So I'm thinking if I'm the producers of 50 Shades of Black, I'm like, job well done. So yes, 9th doesn't sound good, but really if you think about it, this was a small film with almost no marketing, like very, very little marketing, but they marketed it in a smart way, made over $6 million opening weekend, does well. But Jane Got a Gun.
Yeah.
Comes in 17th place on its opening weekend. Now, granted, it wasn't a super wide release. It opened in how many theaters? It says in 1,200 theaters. So it's a lot. It opened in a lot of theaters with an average per screen average of $664, and it only made $800,000. Now, granted, they didn't push a lot of marketing on this film, but it's just weird because I remember like 2 years ago when we first started talking about Jane Got a Gun, there was all that drama surrounding it. Director leaves, 15 different actors change positions and all this kind of stuff. Natalie Portman's passion project. She had Bradley Cooper on there, gone. Jude Law on there, gone. Joel Edgerton, who was in one role, switched over another role. Ewan McGregor comes in. It was all this kind of stuff. And we were watching it so closely. And now 2 years later, it just kind of crawls into the 1,200 screens, makes under $1 million. So that's the one that really unfortunately stands out to me. Anyway, Schnupp, what about you?
Yeah, I was thinking that Janie got a gun earlier because I only thought it was released in like 8 theaters.
Yeah.
But 1,200 theaters?
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, that's bad. I mean, that's not like,
it's professional analysis.
Limited release. This is really bad. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. When I saw the trailers, I felt once again like, for me, like when you show way too much in the trailer where even a small kid could put together the sequence of events because you basically showed the entire movie in certain rearranged. It's just like, just don't do that, especially when you have a Western. A lot of things key into, maybe that final scene. We don't necessarily need to see that if we're going to see the movie. At least for myself, I don't like seeing those final scenes in trailers. But yeah, that's the one that sticks out to me the most. I mean, all the rest of them, like, it makes sense that The Finest Hours didn't really do that great. It did okay because it's just kind of one of those middle of the road films. Like, if you're into those like bio stories, it feels more like that should have been on like maybe a cable channel or something like TNT as opposed to a big movie. That's what it felt like to me when I was watching the trailer for The Finest Hours. It just felt like, is that going to be on like TNT or something? Oh, it's a movie? It never struck me as a big film.
I had the totally different reaction.
Yeah.
I thought it looked great. I liked more than you or Mark when we were all at D23 and they showed The Finest Hour stuff. I actually walked out really kind of encouraged by it. I thought it looked great. but it turned out to be kind of a middle of the road movie. You know, it turned out to be what you thought it looked like. I ended up liking it, but it could have been and should have been a lot better, especially when you consider the remarkable true story behind it. And Christian, what stands out to you about the box office?
Well, first
report?
I got to give credit to Kung Fu Panda, because I've been saying, January coming out. What does that mean? Does that mean it stinks? And regardless, because I think the reviews have been okay for it. It did its job. It was a smart move to put it in January because there wasn't much out at this moment. They're catching Revenant on whatever it's the third, fourth week, and Star Wars is on its way out. So this was a good move for Kung Fu Panda. So that to me, the fact that it made 40 is a good sign for that franchise in general. Jane Got a Gun, because Jane Got a Gun is a movie that I don't think was marketed well at all, regardless of the trailer at all. No. Because we had to watch the trailer. That's what we do. My wife and I were deciding to see something this weekend. We didn't wind up going to see anything, but the choices were between Bad Grandpa, Dirty Grandpa, and Jane Got a Gun. And she didn't know what either one was. And she saw the trailer. She's like, oh, that looks pretty good. But she had never heard of it before. Then I also think it was a misstep. You have Ewan McGregor, Edgerton, and Natalie Portman, the Star Wars cast reuniting, and you kind of put that together going, oh yeah, they should have tried to did the same thing that
with Star Wars being in theaters right
that's
now.
What they should have done.
It would have been gimmicky, but sometimes gimmicks are good.
Gimmick could have helped a movie that made $800,000. I'll tell you that. So that to me is a big one because it doesn't. And Dennis saw it and said it was fine, like a cable movie. Right. A fine cable movie should deserve to make more than $800,000 in the week. There are movies that stink to high heaven, shit rats, and make a lot of money. So anyway, Jane Got a Gun.
Would that be just too corny to be like a long time ago in a western?
Far away.
Just any kind of little.
But even in a trailer, if you did something as gimmicky, just as a, because sometimes in a trailer they'll flash up a quick quote from somebody. Like if they just flash up a quick quote, a mini reunion of a mini Star Wars reunion. Sure. Just plant Star Wars in there, and you probably could have doubled your box office. Right. Like that gimmicky, yes, but sometimes gimmicks are used because they work.
You need it,